Wow. Hi everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I appreciate you being here. My name is Sean Helton. I also go by DJ Omega 50. I'm from Bradenton, Florida. Originally, I lived in a small town called Butlerville, Ohio. It was great growing up there. Mostly what I talk about in my videos is homeless and how I got here and what way I can hopefully get out. I've always wanted to tell my life story, so I'll try to make each one of these videos about 30 minutes long so that I'm not too boring and they're not too long to watch, and I'll answer as many questions about me as I can. I'm a very transparent person. You know, it is what it is. You know, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, well, here goes. I was born in Columbus, Ohio, which is Franklin County, for anybody who doesn't know much about Ohio. I was born August the 12th, 1972. Yes, I'm 49 years old, and at that point in time, we'll keep names out of this, but my mother had gotten into some juvenile trouble, and there was like a girls' prison that she was in at the time. The name of this place is called Scioto Village. So it's somewhere near Columbus. I'm not exactly sure what it is or where it is. But my mom was in there while she was pregnant with me. I believe she was 15 at the time. So she had ran away from home, and she had a lot of problems when she was younger. So I can't blame her, and I don't blame her. So my mom was in basically juvenile prison when she had me, and I was placed in foster care. So pretty soon after that, my great-grandparents, the ones who raised me, they're wonderful people, and I wish I could introduce you to them, but they're in heaven right now looking down on me making these. But my grandma couldn't stand the fact that I was in foster care, so she came and got me. And she decided that she was going to raise me. So I had her for a short time. I was raised in my house when I was very young with my uncle, my biological uncle, that my great-grandparents also adopted. His name was Philip. I'll go ahead and I can say his name. He passed away in 1979, and he had a lot of issues with the law and run-ins, and was in jail and in and out of jail and juvenile and prison, but he was the only big brother role model that I had, and it really, really upset me when he passed away. I can remember it just like it was yesterday. I was 6 years old. I was playing on my swing set in the backyard with the two neighbor kids, and my grandma came out on our back porch and she yelled at me, and she told me to come in the house, and I did, and we went in and sat on her bed, and I remember her holding my hand, and she told me she had something to tell me, and she then proceeded to tell me that Uncle Philip wasn't going to be coming home anymore, that he went to be with Jesus. And did I understand what she meant? And of course, at 6 years old, I didn't. You know, she explained that when you go with Jesus, that you're in a new place and that he was never coming home. So that was very, very, very traumatic for me when I was a young child. I just thought I would share that with you. I did very, very well in school. in my grade school years. First, second, third, fourth, and then fifth grade came along and I had my first male teacher. And he wasn't a very friendly guy. He was pretty strict, and he had a paddle that every kid was afraid of because they were allowed to paddle you back then. And he paddled me several times. But I was falling back in math and having a really, really hard time with that subject. So I missed a lot when it came to his class. He wasn't a very friendly teacher, you know, so he was calling my great-granddad in on a regular basis. But before that, I jumped ahead of time here. So what happened was in first grade, unfortunately, that would be 1981. It was in the middle of the night, but my Uncle Bill, who's now passed away, and my great-grandpa Ray, they told me that they were taking Grandma to the hospital. And I remember my Uncle Bill and my grandpa literally picking her up and putting her in the hospital, in the car in order for him to take her to the hospital. And Grandma had been to the hospital a whole lot. She had a lot of problems with arthritis and with heart problems. So, you know, I was used to her coming in and out of the hospital. Sorry about that, guys. I'm getting dried up, but they took her to the hospital. This was the beginning of August 1981. So I just thought, as a 9-year-old child, that she was going to be okay, and, you know, they'd fix her at the hospital, and she'd be home. Well, that wasn't the case this time. So I was staying with my grandpa, which was my great-grandmother's first son. His name is Paris, and he's passed away as well. But I was staying there with my grandpa and my aunt, which was my grandpa's daughter. She was just about a year and a half older than me. And I remember my grandpa coming in. He just got back from the hospital, my great-grandpa, and he told me the same thing that Grandma told me, that Grandma went to be with Jesus, great-grandma Goldie, and she was like my mother. I mean, I miss her to this day. I mean, it happened August the 4th at 8:15 a.m. in the morning. She passed away to be with Jesus. And still, this many years later, I wake up every August the 4th before 8:15 in order to say a prayer for her. I don't even have to set an alarm. Isn't that kind of strange? You know, it's just really strange how that happened. Then we'll keep going. So I'm in the 4th grade when Grandma Goldie passed away, great-grandma. And in 5th grade is when I started showing out behavioral problems. And, you know, I wasn't listening. I was a very, very, very hyperactive child, or at least that's what they thought was going on. So we'll delve more into that here in a little bit. But I went through 5th grade, and really I probably should have been held back that year because I had such problems learning. It was the year after my great-grandmother died, and I just couldn't concentrate on nothing. But this teacher seemed to be concerned with me, and they kept bringing my great-grandpa in, Ray, and they kept telling him, you know, hey, he's a problem. He's interruptive, and he doesn't do his homework. He doesn't do things he's supposed to do. We need to get this kid on Ritalin. So my grandpa, Ray, he took me to the doctor, and it was horrible. They put me on Ritalin because they thought, that I'm hyperactive. That was the reason for my outburst and so on and so forth. So I started taking this, and this stuff put me to sleep. I mean, it just was the worst thing in the world that a kid can be on. So I was taking it at school and in the morning and at night, and all it would do it would knock me out. It didn't make me do better in school. So I didn't really see the reason as to why to take it. So, 6th grade comes along, and, I remember this to this day. And I hope she comes in. My 6th grade teacher's name was Sharon Franick. She's actually on my Facebook, and I'm going to invite her over here to see this. But I had a problem with sticky fingers, and I remember that I stole an 8-pack of Crayola markers out of my classroom. Well, unfortunately for me, Miss Franick caught me, or found out that I did it, and I was punished. I remember that because she made me write on sentences during recess that I will understand the consequences of my behavior. I remember this specifically, at least that part of the sentence, because of the word consequences. And I'll never forget how to spell the word consequences. So thank you, Mrs. Franick, and I hope you get to see this. It's actually a wonderful memory now, but it was something that I'm not proud of and something that I shouldn't have done, and I apologize to you now as a 49-year-old man. And like I say, I'm completely transparent when it comes to these guys. So, so I passed the 6th grade, 7th grade came along. I felt that I was kind of abused in school at that point because I just stopped doing homework, and I had a teacher, her name was Ms. Holtzapfel, and she got married, and she had her name changed to Mrs. Martin. And this woman happened to have a paddle with little bitty holes in it. And everybody was afraid of this paddle with the holes in it, except for me. So I didn't do my homework. I didn't care, whatever. The principal didn't scare me. I wore extra clothes underneath my pants because I knew I was being swatted that day. But they punished me by swatting me for every homework assignment that I didn't turn in. And I don't feel that that's any way to make a kid do their homework. So I'm really glad they quit the corporal punishment. It wasn't right. So on and so forth. So I'm still in elementary school all the way up to the 7th grade. So I barely passed the 7th grade. And then that put me into junior high, 7th, or what? No, it was just the 8th grade. And now today it's 7th and 8th grade is junior high. So in 8th grade, I started doing all the switching classes the way that kids do now. But before then, it was one teacher all day long. So the 8th grade, I started to rebel. I was considered a hood, a greaser, whatever we call them now, the kids that, don't listen to their parents. I was a bad seed. I was a bad egg, though I had a great Christian upbringing. I couldn't have asked for better parents than my great-grandparents, and I was nothing like they wanted me to be. So, I started getting in trouble. I started skipping school. They turned me in to for being truant and stuff. And I finally had to go to court, and I went to juvenile jail. Go figure. So once I got a taste of juvenile, it wasn't nothing. So I just kept acting out. Sometime in before this, actually went to a psychiatric evaluation at Children's Hospital in Cincinnati, and I really never understood why I did what I did, but they did. I was there for a week. It was so insane. So insane. I mean, there's some kids with some really serious problems out there in these places. We would go to group every day, and my grandpa Ray came to see me every single day. He lived at least an hour and a half away from the hospital, and the whole 30 days that I was in there, he visited me nonstop. And it really meant a lot to me. Well, to tell you the truth, I talked to the psychiatrist, I talked to the psychologist, the counselors, anybody who would listen to me. And you know what they found out my diagnosis was? It wasn't hyperactive. Wasn't that I was a bad kid. It was that I was absolutely terrified of losing my great-grandfather, Ray. I was having panic and anxiety attacks at an early age because what was going to happen to me if he died? Where was I going to go? My mom had moved on and married 2 other men and had my half-brother and a half-sister. So what was going to happen to me? Would she take me? I didn't know. So they put me on a medication called Atarax, and it's made for anxiety. And I remember when they got me off the Ritalin, I did so much better. But it still didn't fix the problem that I was having anxiety attacks. So, moving on, through 9th grade, I got in a lot of trouble. At this point, I'm 14, and I'm hanging out with the wrong kids and the wrong crowd. And these kids told me about this house that had some motorcycles and different things like that in it. And they wanted to go get them and ride them, okay? So, we go to this house, and there's some small and even larger size motorcycles. And we get on them and we ride them, and, we're just having fun. But needless to say, I did not understand, or I didn't understand the consequences that what we were doing was breaking and entering. So I was found by the police department. The deputy sheriffs came to my house, and they arrested me in front of my great-grandfather Ray. And all he could do was look at me with his big blue eyes and cry. That was the first time I ever seen my grandpa cry. And it absolutely tore me up. Well, I was placed in juvenile detention with 4 felony 4s in Ohio. And I didn't realize how much trouble I was actually in, but I was in for lots of trouble. So, basically, because of the truancy and everything, I already had a record. The other kid got off with probation. Me, they sent me to a place called Mary Haven Youth Center. It's in Lebanon, Ohio. It's down the street, actually, from the prison, Lebanon Correctional Institute. So it was no place to go. The kids were awful. The staff was awful. They mistreated me. They bullied me. They made it harder for me to get out. They made it harder for me to work the level system in order for me to get visitation from my grandpa. They separated me from the only thing that I had left in life. And I spent a year and almost 6 months in there. And then finally, they transferred me to a place called, it was a children's home. Western Southern Children's Home. So it was actually right near my home. And they placed me with a family. I was with a family called Susan and Walter. I'll never ever say their last name. They were brand new house parents, and they had 2 young children, Walt Jr. and Kristen. And they're all my friends on Facebook still yet to this day, and God bless them. They changed my life. It was a Christian children's home. They took me to church every week, and they taught me about God and Jesus. I was first baptized in the church that they took me to. It was wonderful. And I went to school at Goshen High School, and I made pretty good grades. And during that time, I took driver's education, I got my license, and I turned 16 years old, and I thought I was doing well. And then they took me, and they let me go home. I got to go home with Grandpa Ray almost 2 years. And it meant the world to me. But Walt and Susan, I will never, ever forget you. Never. And I'll never forget what I did to Doug. It's an inside joke with Susan. She knows all about it. I won't go into it ever on YouTube, but that was just to get a laugh out of her. But I went home, and everything was okay. I met this really, really special girl from Blanchester, Ohio. She knows who she is, too. And I was absolutely in love with her. But her dad was a policeman, and he didn't want to have anything to do with me talking to his daughter. So that never worked out. Though I still think about her till this day, and she knows it. Shortly after the breakup with her, I married my first wife and my last wife. Her name was Kathy, and things were great at the beginning. She was about 6 years older than me. I was 18 and she was 25, and I found out that she was married, and she was wanting a divorce, and basically we hooked up. I know that's wrong. You don't have to tell me, but again, it is what it is. So Kathy and I met up and got married in November the 8th of, I believe it was 91. It was the year that Bill Clinton won his first election. Been a long time. But Kathy's parents never did approve of me being with her. They both since went on to pass away. I never ever want to say anything bad about her parents, because my kids respect them and my kids love them, and that's their choice. But they were pretty nasty to me. I'm going to go ahead and probably cut this video off now. That is pretty much the story of my very, very young youth. Also, I was a kid that got picked on and bullied in school because I was an extrovert. I was way out there, guys. But the kids were pretty cruel to me. They used to make fun of me quite a bit from time to time down there at the schoolhouse. I can't do my Sling Blade impression right now, but I will someday. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Do anything you can to help me. If you can donate anything, the only way I have to donate is by Cash App. My Cash App is $DJ Omega 50. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.